Is there a theory or school of thought that equates human psychological development with stages of biological development?
Biogenetic law, a connection between psychological and biological development. Yes, there is a theory that equates human psychological development with stages of biological development. This theory is known as the biogenetic law or recapitulation theory. The biogenetic law, popularized by Ernst Haeckel in the 19th century, proposed that an individual's ontogeny development recapitulates, replays, the phylogeny, evolutionary history, of the species. In simpler terms, it suggested that as a human embryo develops, it passes through stages resembling the adult forms of lower animals. According to this theory, the stages of psychological development also correspond to these biological stages. For instance, it might suggest that early childhood is a stage similar to primitive organisms. Adolescence mirrors a more complex stage, and adulthood represents the most evolved state. However, it's important to note that this theory has been largely discredited by modern scientific research. While there are some similarities between the development of embryos and the evolutionary history of species, the correspondence is not as direct or comprehensive as the biogenetic law suggested. Today, developmental psychologists and biologists generally favor more nuanced and complex explanations of human development. These explanations consider a variety of factors, including genetic, environmental, and cultural influences, rather than relying solely on a simplistic recapitulation of evolutionary history.
Okay, what about one that states the psyche is like the body? And as the body develops appendages and systems, so the psyche forms a type of body with internal organs that can only form if the right condition is met. And if not formed, in certain orders can cause future complications to normal functions. So that puberty is to the psyche what the stage at 2 months of development is to the fetus. Perhaps in a chakra sense, brain development of the fetus is as important to, I guess, shadow assimilation. I guess having a symmetrical body would be like vibrant anima and animus interplay. Heart development to Campbell's hero journey. Let's go from here.
A somatic approach to the psyche. Your proposed analogy between the development of the body and the psyche is intriguing and has some parallels in various psychological theories. Here's a breakdown of your ideas and potential connections to existing concepts. 1. The psyche as a body, organ formation. This idea resonates with Jungian psychology, where the psyche is conceptualized as a complex system with various components, each serving a specific function. For instance, the ego, id, and superego can be seen as organs of the psyche. Conditional development. The notion that certain conditions are necessary for the development of specific aspects of the psyche aligns with theories that emphasize the role of nurture and environment in shaping personality and behavior. 2. Puberty in the psyche. Developmental milestones. Puberty is a significant biological transition, often marked by hormonal changes and physical growth. Similarly, there are psychological milestones, such as the development of abstract thinking or the establishment of a sense of self, that occur during adolescence. 3. Brain development and shadow assimilation. Neurological basis. Brain development is crucial for cognitive functions and emotional regulation. The concept of shadow assimilation in Jungian psychology involves integrating unconscious aspects of the self, which often requires a certain level of psychological maturity and self-awareness. 4. Symmetry and anima/animus. Balance and harmony. Symmetry is often associated with balance and harmony. In Jungian psychology, the anima and animus represent the feminine and masculine aspects of the psyche, respectively. A well-integrated psyche would involve a balanced interplay of these opposing forces. While your analogy is not a direct representation of any specific psychological theory, it offers a unique perspective on the relationship between biological and psychological development. It could be seen as a form of somatic psychology, which emphasizes the mind-body connection and the role of bodily sensations and experiences in shaping psychological processes. Would you like to explore any of these ideas further, or perhaps delve into other psychological theories that might relate to your analogy?
Is there any way to provide a summary of the ideas of Robert Sapolsky, the former professor at Stanford University?
Yes, I can provide a summary of Robert Sapolsky's main ideas. Sapolsky is a renowned neuroendocrinologist and author who has made significant contributions to the fields of neuroscience, psychology, and primatology. His work often focuses on the interplay between biology, behavior, and the environment. Here are some key themes and concepts that Sapolsky frequently explores. Stress in the brain. Sapolsky is well known for his research on the effects of stress on the brain and body. He has studied how chronic stress can lead to various health problems, including cardiovascular disease, depression, and memory impairment. Biology and behavior. Sapolsky emphasizes the importance of understanding the biological basis of behavior. He explores how our genes, hormones, and brain structures influence our thoughts, emotions, and actions. Hierarchy and power. Sapolsky has conducted extensive research on the social dynamics of primates, particularly baboons. He has studied how hierarchies and power structures within social groups can affect health and behavior. The human condition. Sapolsky's work often delves into broader questions about the human condition. He explores topics such as morality, aggression, and the nature of consciousness. Sapolsky is a popular science writer and has authored several best-selling books, including Why Zebras Don't Get Ulcers, Stress, The Body's Reaction to Demand, and Behave, The Biology of Humans at Our Best and Worst. His work is accessible to a wide audience and has helped to popularize the study of neuroscience and behavioral biology. Would you like to know more about a specific aspect of Sapolsky's work?
Wow, you make a great point. His lectures being posted on YouTube gave rise to the trend of incorporating people portrayed as Sapolsky-ish, some even holding various related degrees. Recently, a multi-billion-dollar company relying on such a figure shut down under intense scrutiny, and their spokesman was refrained from making or being in any new content as a result of the criticism.
That's a fascinating observation. The popularity of Sapolsky's lectures has undoubtedly influenced the way people discuss and understand neuroscience and psychology. The rise of Sapolsky-ish figures, particularly in online content, is a testament to his impact. It's interesting to hear about the recent incident involving the multi-billion-dollar company. The scrutiny they faced likely highlighted the importance of authenticity and expertise in the content they were producing. The decision of their spokesman to refrain from further appearances speaks to the potential consequences of misrepresenting oneself or one's knowledge. Do you have any other questions about Sapolsky or his work? Perhaps you're curious about a particular topic he has explored in his research or lectures.
Could you do a comparison, if it is even possible, between the ideas I posed to you and your summary of his work?
Comparing your ideas to Robert Sapolsky's work, while your proposed analogy between the psyche and the body doesn't directly align with Sapolsky's specific research, there are some intriguing parallels and potential areas of overlap. Similarities. Mind-body connection. Both your ideas and Sapolsky's work emphasize the importance of the mind-body connection. Your analogy suggests that the psyche is a complex system, similar to the body, that requires specific conditions for optimal development. Sapolsky's research often highlights the biological basis of behavior and the impact of stress on the brain and body. Developmental stages. Both your ideas and Sapolsky's work acknowledge the importance of developmental stages. Your analogy suggests that the psyche, like the body, undergoes various stages of development. Sapolsky's research on stress and the brain often focuses on the impact of early life experiences on later development. Differences. Focus. While your analogy is more focused on the internal structure and development of the psyche, Sapolsky's work often explores the external factors, such as the environment and social interactions, that influence behavior. Methodology. Your analogy is more conceptual and philosophical, while Sapolsky's work is grounded in empirical research and scientific methods. In conclusion, while your ideas and Sapolsky's work may not be directly comparable, there are some interesting connections and potential areas for further exploration. Your analogy provides a unique perspective on the psyche and its development, while Sapolsky's research offers a scientific foundation for understanding the biological basis of behavior.
Yes, he is very much about environmental interactions.
That's absolutely correct. Robert Sapolsky is a strong advocate for understanding the complex interplay between biology, behavior, and the environment. His research often highlights how environmental factors, such as stress, social interactions, and early life experiences, can significantly influence our thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. Would you like to discuss a specific example of how Sapolsky has explored the role of environmental interactions in his work?
Oh my gosh, I think this quote might be related here, but before we do anything with it, let me just present it and ask if you can identify it. Then I will ask about it and Sapolsky's finding and analysis. Quote, and so one of the particular problems of TV, and it's as natural as the effects of, say, radioactivity on people who do not know the properties of radioactive material. Now, one of the problems of TV, therefore, is that in immobilizing the eye muscles, it makes reading very difficult. For the TV child who is negligently exposed to large quantities of television has trouble concentrating and moving his eye muscles. Close quote. Marshall McLuhan, 1977, lecturer at Johns Hopkins University on Global Village and the Tetrad.
That quote is from Marshall McLuhan, a renowned Canadian media theorist and philosopher. He is best known for his influential book, Understanding Media, The Extensions of Man. McLuhan was a pioneer in analyzing the impact of media on society and culture. In this quote, he is discussing the potential effects of television on the human brain and behavior. His argument is that excessive exposure to television can lead to difficulties with concentration and eye movement, which may in turn affect reading and learning. Would you like to discuss how this quote relates to Sapolsky's work on the impact of the environment on behavior?
First off, can you find any evidence to oppose McLuhan here specifically? Like, does television have any physical effects on the human body at all, let alone eye muscles? And can unknown radiation levels damage people in ways they can experience but not comprehend on a physics level?
Evaluating McLuhan's claims, while McLuhan's observations about the impact of television on society were insightful, his specific claim about the physical effects on eye muscles has not been widely supported by scientific research. 1. Physical effects of television. No direct evidence. There is currently no conclusive scientific evidence to suggest that watching television directly causes physical changes to the eye muscles. While excessive screen time can lead to eye strain and fatigue, these effects are generally temporary and do not result in lasting damage. Cognitive effects. However, there is growing evidence that excessive screen time, especially among children, can have negative cognitive effects. These effects may include difficulties with attention, concentration, and language development. 2. Unknown radiation. Television radiation. Televisions emit electromagnetic radiation, but the levels are generally considered safe. Modern televisions produce much less radiation than older models. Harmful radiation. While there are types of radiation that can be harmful to human health, such as ionizing radiation, the radiation emitted by televisions is non-ionizing and is not known to cause any significant health risks. In conclusion, while McLuhan's ideas about the impact of media on society were groundbreaking, his specific claim about television's effects on eye muscles is not supported by current scientific evidence. While excessive screen time can have negative consequences, these effects are primarily cognitive and psychological, rather than physical. Would you like to discuss how McLuhan's ideas might relate to Sapolsky's work on the impact of the environment on behavior?
Sense, why would moving the eyes from side to side have any impact on states of mind? That's ridiculous. But then what happened was in 2018, 2019, and 2020, 5 quality manuscripts came out in very good journals from groups that were studying eye movements, not studying stress or trauma, that found that these lateralized eye movements, not up and down, but lateralized eye movements, quiet the activity of the amygdala, the limbic structure in the brain that's primarily responsible for threat detection and stress. And I was like, oh my goodness, this thing might actually be real.
Okay, let's leave McLuhan aside as his assertions don't meet the level of Sapolsky's findings, but go with, does Sapolsky discuss television as an environmental interaction?
While Sapolsky hasn't specifically focused on television as an environmental interaction in his published work, his research on the impact of the environment on behavior provides a framework for understanding how media consumption, including television, can influence individuals. Here are some relevant aspects of Sapolsky's work. Stress and the environment. Sapolsky has extensively studied the effects of stress on the brain and body. Excessive exposure to certain types of media, including violent or disturbing content, can be a source of stress. Social learning. Sapolsky's research on social learning suggests that individuals can learn behaviors and attitudes by observing others. Television can be a powerful tool for social learning, both positive and negative. Reward systems. Sapolsky has explored the role of reward systems in the brain. Television can be a source of reward, particularly for children and adolescents, which can influence viewing habits and behavior. While Sapolsky may not have explicitly studied television as an environmental interaction, his research provides a valuable lens for understanding how media consumption can impact individuals' psychological and physiological well-being.
How many stages of fetal development are there?
There are 3 main stages of fetal development. 1, germinal stage. This stage begins at conception and lasts approximately 2 weeks. During this time, the fertilized egg, zygote, travels down the fallopian tube and implants in the uterine wall. 2, Embryonic stage. This stage lasts from the 3rd to the 8th week of pregnancy. During this time, the embryo begins to develop into a more recognizable form, with the formation of major organs and body systems. 3. Fetal stage. This stage begins in the 9th week of pregnancy and continues until birth. During this stage, the fetus continues to grow and develop, with the formation of smaller features and the maturation of organs. It's important to note that while these are the 3 main stages, fetal development is a continuous process with many smaller milestones occurring throughout each stage.
Are there stages of psychological development?
Yes, there are various theories about the stages of psychological development. These theories propose that human development is a sequential process, with individuals progressing through different stages as they grow and mature. Some of the most influential theories include Piaget's cognitive development theory. Jean Piaget proposed that children develop cognitive abilities in a series of stages, from sensoromotor to formal operational. Erikson's psychosocial development theory. Erik Erikson's theory focuses on the social and emotional aspects of development, with each stage presenting a unique crisis that must be resolved. Vygotsky's sociocultural theory. Lev Vygotsky emphasized the role of social interaction and culture in shaping cognitive development. It's important to note that these theories are not without their critics, and there is ongoing debate about the exact nature and sequence of psychological development. However, they provide valuable frameworks for understanding how individuals change and grow over time.
I like 2. I want to use the conflict idea to juxtapose with these smaller milestones within the 3 fetal development stages, so that in my visual aids, the psychic body's growth of any organ or appendage are allegories, I think, for psychic conflicts, victory, defeat, or reconciliation determining all future developmental potential. As in, if a fetus doesn't form legs, knee development loses potentiality. So if the psychic body does not develop legs to stand on, then kicking and jumping are different than quote unquote normal in the accurate use of the word.
Juxtaposing psychological conflicts and fetal development. That's a fascinating idea. Using the concept of conflict to parallel the stages of fetal development can create a visually engaging and thought-provoking representation of psychological growth. Here's a breakdown of how you could use this concept. 1. Germinal stage. Conception. 2 weeks. Psychic conflict. The initial struggle to form a sense of self and identity. Milestone. The development of a healthy ego. Visual representation. A small, undifferentiated shape struggling to break free from its surroundings. 2. Embryonic stage. 3 to 8 weeks. Psychic conflict. Navigating the tension between dependence and independence. Milestone. The development of a sense of autonomy. Visual representation. The embryo growing limbs and beginning to move, symbolizing the desire for freedom. 3. Fetal stage. 9 weeks birth. Psychic conflict. Balancing the need for connection with others and the desire for individuality. Milestone. The development of strong social bonds and a sense of belonging. Visual representation. The fetus developing facial features and engaging in fetal movements, symbolizing social interaction and emotional expression. By using conflicts as a metaphor for psychological growth, you can create a dynamic and visually appealing representation of the stages of fetal development. You could also incorporate specific psychological concepts, such as the ego, id, and superego, into your visual aids to provide more depth and meaning. Would you like to explore any of these ideas further, or perhaps discuss other potential conflicts that could be associated with the stages of fetal development?